Now, Pavarotti was a good friend.
Hello, welcome to The Revealing. I am your host, Pavarotti, and I'm here to discuss the IDAHO4 case. As a disclaimer, this channel is for entertainment purposes. These are my opinions. I'm not here to slander anyone. I'm merely here to speculate. And in this episode, we will present facts, timelines, and add a little speculation in there as well. Because I need you to go watch my last few videos on EB as not only the informant, but also the secret alibi for Mr. Kohberger and more than likely the DoorDash driver. You need to watch those videos before you watch this one for this one to have the impact that it truly can have on you. In this one, we're going to take that information that I have gone over in those videos and we're going to apply it to what we know in the timeline of events that's happened around the Moscow atrocity. And I think once we apply what we now know into these events, into the timeline, I'm not going to have to do much explaining. I think the timeline is going to explain itself. However, you know me, I can't help but explaining as I go. So let's get into it, shall we? Okay, folks, so we're going to go ahead and start right here in the timeline. And that's October 21st, 2020, October 21st, 2022, yes. Okay, and that's when TF is released on furlough. TR is released on $75,000 bail from the Latah County Jail. And you know, I know everybody likes to have receipts. I have so many receipts on all of this stuff, but I'll give you just a few as I go along just so that I'm backing stuff up. And you can see right here, this is a news release on October 21st, 2022. Arrest warrant issued for suspected local METH trafficker, TF, after he failed to return to jail after a furlough. Now, you know it's my theory that this is the guy that the mother and the stepmother set up working with the drug task force. He is a member of that Aryan prison gang located there in Moscow with the ties. He's the white supremacist that the New York Times said law enforcement investigated. Of course they did. Then next, we have November 13th, 2022. And that is the actual atrocity on King Road that took the lives of the 4 young individuals who I believe those 4 were absolutely all innocent, young people. Now, then sometime, and I think we all agree on this one, sometime between the 13th and the 15th, the DoorDash driver comes forward to law enforcement, gives them their statement that they had delivered the DoorDash order at approximately 4 a.m. on the night of the atrocity. And law enforcement apparently doesn't do much with that after that because we don't see anything until a little bit later. Then on November 20th, a DNA profile is sent to CODIS off the knife sheath. And CODIS does not identify a match of anybody in their criminal database. Then on November 25th, the BOLO goes out to all the law enforcement to be on the lookout for a 2011 to 2013 white Hyundai Elantra. Obviously, this is not Kohberger's car because his is a 2015, a completely different automobile. So the chances are this Elantra has nothing to do with the atrocity on King Road. It's just somebody happened to drive around the neighborhood. And as we've seen in many of the videos, there's many people driving around that neighborhood at this time of night. And that's why it took them till November 25th to send the BOLO out on the Elantra, because they were deciphering through all the suspect vehicles. November 29th, the FBI gets an idea. We'll send the DNA off to Othram Labs and see if they can start their genealogy profile on it. November 30th, MPD, Moscow Police Department, acknowledges DRUG involvement and targeted individuals in a press release. I showed you all that in the video the other day. Here's the press release on November 30th. And you can see down here it says, regarding the interview with Latah County Prosecutor Bill Thompson, we feel his responses were messaged to support the implication that new information had been released, specifically generalized statements regarding the potential of targeted victims and the involvement of DRUGS were redefined into an affirmative answer. Then, and I've got somewhere between December 2nd and December 6th, TF is transferred from the Spokane lockup to Latah County Jail. Now, I have the information, some of the information on the Spokane arrest on November 23rd, but the only thing I can find on his transfer back to Latah is a news article, and it's dated December 2nd, but I don't think that's enough to give a definitive date. So sometime between the 2nd and the 6th. But just so you know, let's see, where is it? Here's the news article. 43-year-old Harvard man charged with DRUG trafficking, arrested on warrant after failing to return to jail after furlough. December 2nd is the date of this press release. And you can see right here, it says TF was temporarily released from the Latah County Jail, 2nd District Court Magistrate Judge Megan Marshall, so he could visit a family member who is deathly ill. F never returned himself back into the jail in Moscow, and a warrant was issued for his arrest. He was recently arrested on the warrant in Spokane and has been transported back to the Latah County Sheriff's Office jail. Okay, so let's go back up. Where was I at? Right here. Okay. All right, so TF is transferred from Spokane to Latah County Jail. Now watch how these dates start. This is where all the dominoes start to fall in this case, folks. He's back in Latah now, and he's talking because he's got some serious things hanging over his head. So let's just follow the timeline, and we can just do a little speculation on what happened. You can bet TF has implicated EB at this point. And that's why the next thing on our timeline is on December 6th. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, a warrant to DoorDash is issued. That warrant comes back on December 2nd. December 7th. Let's take a look at that warrant to DoorDash. And of course, in the warrant, it is redacted. And you can see right here, this is why it's redacted, because it would disclose the identity of a confidential source. Confidential informant, that's, in my speculation, this is EB. And you can see right here in the warrant, here's the warrant history. And this is Mowry. On December 6th, he obtained a search warrant for DoorDash. On December 7th, I received an email from DoorDash which contained the requested information. Okay, so dominoes are starting to fall. What happens after that? Well, on December 8th, we've got an Amazon warrant returned. Now, the Amazon warrant was a blanket warrant issued, they filed for it on November 26th, and it was to get a list of people who had purchased K-Bar knives in the area. Now, with the DoorDash warrant coming back, they've got the information they need on EB. They bring her in, and along with this Amazon warrant, they sit down and they get the name of Brent Kopaka. He's unalived by law enforcement during a search warrant in Pullman on December 15th. Now, how did they get from EB to Kopaka? Real simple. Here is the warrant for Amazon. And again, redacted. Why? To disclose the identity of a confidential source. Once again, it's EB giving information on Kopaka. You can see on December the 8th right here, I received an email from Amazon which contained the requested information. Again, this is Mowry. So he's got the information back from Amazon with a list of who have purchased the K-Bar knives. EB has given them Kopaka's name. The investigation into Kopaka has started. Then, on December 14th, For some reason we don't understand, you can see this is information on a search warrant that had been issued based on the Amazon K-bar warrant, because it's still in the Amazon warrants. What happened on December 14th? Well, Pullman, Washington issued a search warrant to Brett Kopacka's apartment. Said it was because he was threatening his roommates, but in the body cam video, we all clearly hear them say, we have a search warrant to search your apartment. What happened? They unalived him. The very next day, on the same Amazon warrants, you see Megan Marshall is sealing and redacting everything about that warrant. To this day, nobody can get any information on the Brett Kopacka situation. Here's why, folks. Follow the timeline, December 15th. That one goes quiet. So, the dominoes are all falling at this point. Now, how did they go from Kopacka to Kohberger? Simple. You see, I've got my speculation here. By the time that law enforcement took out Kopacka, it would have taken them a few days. They would have taken his blood, gone and created a DNA profile in the lab in Coeur d'Alene with the results, and after a few days they would have got those results back, and guess what? The DNA from Kopacka did not match the DNA on the knife sheath. So what did law enforcement do? Well, they went to the guy that was driving Kopacka that night. Remember, Kopacka didn't have anything to do with this. He's set up by EB. This is why the investigation moved to Bryan Kohberger. Again, speculation. As the driver of Brett Kopacka, who was set up to pick up DRUGS at EB's house the night of the atrocity, Britt Payne, under cross-examination, admitted the investigation into Kohberger didn't start until December 20th. Do you see how the timeline makes all the dominoes fall in this thing? Folks, if you need to, go back and study that timeline a little bit, because it's right there in everybody's face. We know all of the things that took place in this case before December 20th were happening really fast. And there is reasons for those search warrants for DoorDash and for Amazon. There's reasons around when they picked up TF and how the dominoes started to fall after that. EB. Finally, they get to Kopacka. They unalive him. By the time they get his DNA matched to the knife sheath, it doesn't match. Everything went in disarray at that point. We think we got our assailant, but we can't prove it because his DNA doesn't match to the knife sheath. We're going to need somebody else whose DNA matches that knife sheath to get a conviction. So they went to his driver, somebody who had touched that knife sheath inadvertently and didn't know that he left his DNA on it. Obviously didn't know it was going to be used in a crime. But that's when the investigation started into Kohberger on December 20th. Now, people can spin this many different ways, and they can say that the FBI was on to Kohberger way before December 20th. I don't believe they were. I believe they were on to Kopacka before December 20th, just like the MPD was. I believe that the feds weren't putting as much time and effort into the investigation into Kohberger as people would like to think. The feds had their investigation going into that Aryan family and the way all the drugs were coming into town, because that is always the priority. Look at the statements in Howard Bloom's book from the local head of the drug task force. What does he say? He'll put anybody in danger that he has to every single day of the week to turn them into informants to achieve their objective. DRUGS is always the high priority, even over unalivings. Sad but true. But folks, that's all I'm going to cover in this one. I mean, I think that's quite a bit. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Post your comments, post your thoughts, post your criticisms. Post anything that you'd like to post. Please like and... Did I already say please like and subscribe? Please like, subscribe to the channel. Anyway, until next time, I guess Pavarotti's out.